Good morning, everybody. All right, let's talk about this heat because it's been hot pretty much everywhere. We know what the wildfires were doing to this country. It was very bad, but that's not. We're not the only ones that are getting that. Wildfires. I can't have a hard time saying that. Burning across Greece as well. Spain, Italy, and Greece experiencing scorching temperatures since last week. The entire planet is hotter than it has been ever, damaging agriculture, leaving tourists scurrying for shade. Death Valley in California, 56 degrees Celsius. And tourists are visiting just to experience the heat.
Yeah.
That's weird to me.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
dangerous.
sorry. I don't mean to call anybody dumb, but you could just go into a sauna, no?
Yes.
If you want to experience that heat. I mean, you have to go there.
Yeah.
2 dozen tourists gathered around the sign and cheered on Sunday when the unofficial digital display said 132
Cheered?
Fahrenheit, and then it went up to 133. Woohoo!
Oh,
Why
are we
cheering this?
Why are you doing that? Tash,
Yes.
this is where we look to you to understand what is happening when you see a sign that says heat kills, because you were telling us yesterday, weather-related deaths, it's heat that has caused the most.
Yeah, heat causes the most deaths when you think of tornadoes or hurricanes, and people think that that's, you know, what it is, but it's heat, and it's because it's so prolonged, and it's a slow thing that's happening to your body because you don't get a chance to cool off at night, right? Nighttime temperatures in Death Valley are like 47 degrees, right? And so these are heat domes that are happening globally across the Northern Hemisphere, right? And the heat domes, they're kind of like blocking patterns. So once you get a jam up in one area, like the jet stream is global, but once you get a jam up, it just jams everything else up. So if you're hot, you stay hot. If you're cool, you stay cool. The way a heat dome works, because I know you've heard about this term, is it's literally like putting a lid on top of a boiling pot, right? And air sinks under high pressure, and sinking air heats up even more. So that's how these heat domes work. And there's nothing to push them out because it's away from the jet stream. So that's why they just sit there, they cook. Why Death Valley is one of the hotter places on Earth is simply because of the topography. The hot air at night just gets trapped in the valley. It's like a convection oven, right? So it's just like hot air that's circulating there. Some of these numbers, though, like you said, the overnight lows, 47 degrees in Death Valley. Phoenix, Arizona, I was just there, and people were mad that they were closing the hiking trails because they still wanted to go hiking.
Right.
But they were not. They were closing them because the officials, emergency officials, were saying, you're putting our people at risk if we have to come and find you. Right. But 20 straight days of over 43 degrees. The heat dome, even in Newfoundland, like 31 doesn't sound hot for us. For them, it's hot. And that made Terra Nova the hottest place in Canada yesterday. So even like the parts of the Avalon are into it. That heat dome that you just mentioned, of course, in Europe, record European heat, and also into China. And even the hottest places, like when you start talking about the Middle East, even they're breaking temperature records, right? So these heat domes aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And then it's winter in the Southern Hemisphere, but even where it shouldn't be snowing is snowing, like Johannesburg got sort of a decade, once in a decade snowfall that they've been talking about. So these extremes are going to continue. We haven't heard the last of this.
Everything is upside down, pretty much. It's the way that it shouldn't be. And you talk about the rescues and putting rescuers and first responders at risk. There was a story out of Death Valley where a man who was gone hiking, he couldn't be found. And the rescuers, they couldn't go get him in the chopper because they couldn't fly. It was too hot for the helicopter to go up. So you got to think of all these things before you want to go out to Death Valley or anywhere else to take that picture. You know, the Instagram picture beside of this this thermometer.
And we keep talking about air temperature, but when we talk oceans, and you start, because they're all one and the same, and there's these big interactions, right? The Earth, ocean, atmosphere interaction. But water temperatures, you've heard around Florida, are like boiling. It's like a hot bath, right? Not just on the Gulf side. The Gulf side is typically hotter, but it's all around the peninsula. It is literally fuel waiting for a hurricane to blow up. Hurricane season has just started. It usually peaks August, September, October. So I think things are not looking good in terms of that.
That's what I was going to ask, because climate change is real, obviously, but the long-term effects of something like this, of this extended period of heat, what can that really be?
It's agricultural, right? So you're talking about food supply. You're talking about migration of people, because people are going to have to try to go somewhere to beat the heat. And it's again, wildfires more than usual. So you're talking about air quality going down and heat-related deaths going up, unfortunately.
I've been reading that in Florida, it's becoming harder and harder to get homeowners insurance and auto insurance.
Yeah.
It's just not being provided now.
Yeah.
Because the weather is becoming so extreme that either it'll be happening so often they can't afford to pay that out.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing, excuse me, in parts of California. To get home insurance because of all the wildfires.
Right.
Said it right this time. There's been so many, they spread so much that they're not going to insure you.
Can't even
Can you
protect
imagine?
yourself now. You
Can
know,
you imagine?
your home.
Why would you buy a home then?
Yeah.
If you can't protect it in any way. So this is,
it's tough.
And it's not like we can turn around and say, hey, we're going to do something to like make it not so hot. Mother Nature is undefeated.
There's so much carbon
absolutely.
up in the atmosphere already. Like the CO2 level is so high. Even if we just stopped right now, it's still so high. You've got to get it out of the atmosphere. So carbon sequestering is something, you know. So it's all this technology that has to happen, but it's not going to happen fast enough. We can still do stuff though. Like I don't want this to sound like a doomsday story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We can, but
it's politicians. You
the
know,
window
we have to
gets
put the
smaller
pressure
and smaller.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We got to definitely